All right, looks like we are live. I'll just get that chat ready. Pop this up and make sure we're there. So it's just a testing and chill stream. I'm going to continue my testing versus high elf infantry. I want to test every single dwarf infantry unit versus spearmen, the White Lions, and the Swordmasters of Hoeth. And I'm slowly kind of working my way through it. This kind of testing really takes a long time, but it doesn't matter. I enjoy it, and it's sort of my way to relax. So that's what I'll be doing. And we are continuing with the White Lions versus the Ekron Miners. Now, the Ekron Miners can actually be extremely good if they got off all their blasting charges. So you would never use them just in a straight up frontline engagement, at least not on purpose. And we did see against the against High Elf Spearmen, they were able to rout them just with their blasting charges. But with no blasting charges in a straight up fight, they sort of beat half a Spearman, we'll call it. So they're kind of worth about a Spearman and a half-ish, depending on how you look at it. Their blasting charges are definitely, can pay for the whole unit almost, which is really, really good. So anyways, we will get that test going. And really, after I'm done testing every single dwarf infantry unit versus these three key high elf units, then I'm going to be testing some local optimums for the chevrons. Okay, and I'm just going to get a time for that damage to start, and boom, it's going to start at 59.52. 52. Copy that through. And we'll just let her buck. The other White Lions take those pretty decently because of that spread formation and decent armor. Right off the get-go, the Ekron Miners do think they're winning, though, which is interesting. But that will not last for long. We know the Ekron Miners can't beat Spearmen in a head-up engagement with no blasting charges, so this should go pretty quick. Yeah, there we go. So 57.56. 6. Ekron Miners have 11.33. And the White Lions have 33.16. 33.16. Alright, and they, of course, lost. They lost a lot of gold in that. And that's, of course they're going to lose a lot of gold if they don't get their blasting charges off. I think that is a given. That's something you can expect, that if the Ekron Miners, who are all about the blasting charges, don't get their blasting charges off, they're going to lose a pretty decent amount of gold. But it's not significantly more than Dwarf Warriors with Great Weapons or base Dwarf Warriors against the White Lions anyway. So we'll just keep that test going. And a rematch. And we'll keep plowing through the testing. We should be able to get close to hopefully we can get to hammerers tonight. That's kind of my goal. Hammerers kick the crap out of White Lions. They do a very nice job against them. But I can't remember how much gold they pull off of them. I know they do win that gold. They do win that value fight. Because I've tested them before, White Lions versus Hammerers, and I think that was in the 601 to 900 gold competition is where I tested the White Lions against Hammerers. And the Hammerers, you pulled a lot of value against the White Lions. Now, White Lions don't trade up terribly well. They trade down outstanding, and that's because of that martial prowess. And I think that's the case for that martial prowess trait. How it works is they actually trade down pretty good. They don't trade up all that great, because any unit that can mow through that first half of their health gets through the second half even faster, and it's downhill. But if a unit can't get through that first half, it's like they're fighting an entirely different fight. 57.32. 32. So I imagine Well, I mean, I don't know how much attention high elf players pay to their infantry and trying to bring them when they're going to have those downhill fights where they can really get a ton of value out of them. I really don't know. Like mostly what I hear high elf players talking about is sort of other things. They don't talk about their infantry a whole lot, except to say that every now and once in a while I hear that white lions are bad, but I don't think that. Oh, say the Ekron Miners we got 1109, 3080. Okay. We'll keep that fight going. Match. I saw Rourke Boss put up a new video today, which was awesome. So like, his videos are so interesting because every time I watch his videos, I am reminded right away of how much I have to learn. First of all, from just how far away he looks at the battle. Like, I look at the battles about this close. He looks at the battles from that far. Like, that's how he'll do his cast, from this far out. I'm usually kind of about this close. So really, I mean, I'm sure I could get significantly better just by starting to play this far out and seeing things, and then actually starting to play sort of sideways on. But I'm always reminded of those things, and I do love hearing him think his way through a battle cast too. It's really fun. Like, if you've never watched his battle casts, he's just, it's really interesting because it's a different perspective. 5802. I mean, in my battle casts, every once in a while, I'll just get caught up by looking at a pretty unit or listening to cannons shoot. Which, he doesn't do that. He really does talk about just the competitive side and how the unit is played. So, a little like his analysis is a lot clearer and a lot more technical than mine. So that's why I love watching it. 1160. So, 3208. And he started adding thumbnails to his casts, which are so good. I love every one. Oh, man. My favorite. I won't just say my favorite. Maybe I might make a little video and link to my favorite thumbnail of his, just because I really like it that much. 1160, okay. Edit the battle and rematch. I saw Rubber Duck War had a tournament today. I think Warisha won it. And I didn't finish watching Turin's cast yesterday. So Turin had the first segment at ECL, and Warisha was in that as well, versus Lotus Moon. Unfortunately, they had a lot of connection problems, but eventually it kind of got through. And the second game, I didn't watch it. I got to go back and finish that cast, because I was going to watch it as I went to bed, but then I forgot. But I want to make sure I watch every fight, because I've watched every fight in that whole tournament. This whole season of ECL, I've been able to keep up with all of Turin's casts. I haven't watched them all live, but I've watched every battle. So I really want to watch the end, because there were some really good fights leading up to who got into the top 8, and it's got a great lineup of who's in that top 8. Like Falcon, Lotus Moon are both in there. Zyphos, Orisha. Why are the names? Man, I'm getting so old. My brain doesn't remember stuff like I should. I can't remember who I'm missing. There's four really good players that I haven't even named that are all in there. Romulan Dog, I think, is in there. Yeah. Oh, anyways, 5752. 5752. 57-52, or was it Rob? And you know who else is running a tournament at this time? So Rubber Duck of War just ran a quick tournament. Shadow Online Gaming is running a tournament that I'm in, a YouTuber tournament. Zerkovich is running a tournament, and I know A-Move Hacker's in that tournament, and Falcon's in that tournament as well, and so is Mukip is in that tournament, and then the ECL is running, and I seen I was watching a cast by Aerocrastic today. I love watching Aerocrastic's channel. If you haven't never gone and watched Aerocrastic, go watch his channel. He's really just doing live casts and Twitch stuff and everything else like that. I don't think he's really set himself up yet. I don't know if he's a student or I think I know he works, so he's a pretty busy guy. But yeah, I really do like watching him because he comes at the game from a different perspective and it is also extremely interesting. And I know Falcon live streams on Twitch, I think. Yeah. Man, there's so many good players that I want to watch. I can't watch enough. I mean, I could just watch nonstop and I would not be able to get enough. So 57-52, 9-19. 57-52, 9-19. 28-40. And Talaxalan Soothsayer, I think he hasn't been playing a whole lot lately. He's one of my favorite players. So I like watching Talaxalan Soothsayer because of his style. And the thing I like about his style, if you watch his games, you could call them they're slow constrictions. I mean, you could almost call them boring. And I want to use that word carefully, boring. Boring is not the right word, but it's because he does not allow himself to get into bad engagement. So you'll see some players who like rushy builds. They basically like to get in there and fight like crazy, and it's like a click fest and a micro fest. And the games tend to be exciting because they're winning on one side in this crazy engagement, and someone else is winning on the other side in a crazy engagement. You don't see that in Talaxalan's. Soothe, yeah. So yeah, Worker Boss. Hey, how's it going? I was just talking about you. Yeah, hopefully Ondaje comes back, but Talaxalan, I love his game, and I don't know if you can confirm what I'm saying, is the reason I like his game, and why I say it can seem boring, but it's not, is because he doesn't allow himself these crazy 50-50 engagements. He is such a controlled player that he just constricts you and slowly crushes you. It's like, watching some games, it's like watching a freaking crazy backyard fist fight, and it's exciting. Whereas, watching Talaxalan Soothsayer fight, it's more like watching Lennox Lewis, if you know boxers. Like Lennox Lewis, not the most exciting boxer, but he was awesome because he doesn't give other people's chances. And he's just careful in the way he plays, and it's a very constrictive style. And I know you actually play a lot like that too, Rourke Boss. He Soothe never takes bad engagements, and so his play style doesn't have this edge of excitement, because when you watch some other players play, you get into these crazy games where you just don't know what's going to happen, and stuff is going on everywhere. When you watch Talaxalan play, it is just a consistent, slow crush. Rourke Boss, I tend to adopt his style from time to time with certain factors. Yeah, because I know you do the same a lot too. You kind of like those slow crushes. Those really things where you just do not allow your army to get into bad engagements. And not that you can't go into a pure micro fight, because you look at some like that Cassiers today was fun. Like, you got yourself in a good engagement with that Tomb King army versus the Chaos, but your micro on Setter was on point, and it had to be on point because you were being chased by a Shaggoth and Kolek. So I mean, but you could see the way you pivoted your army. You were very careful about your left flank and tying that off, and keeping your back line up and running, and you had that one group came through. There was not much you could do about it because because you were just there's simply more units, but so you can see both of those. But that's where it's funny, Rook Boss. I mean, I liken your style to Talaxlands the most, because of that crushing style. Because I know when we do our training matches, and when we've done training matches, I have that. I often, when I'm playing, from my perspective, the match, I have a helpless feeling, like I can't do anything, that I can't accomplish anything, or to use your words, I can't push the pace. I just feel almost helpless as you kind of slowly pick the engagements you want. And that's what I see in Talaxland's play. So I don't know. I think he's on a new job or something. Yeah. Oh, because Forsakens ate the skeletons for dinner. Yeah. Forsaken kill fast, but they have their own list of problems too, don't they? 5919, 2840. Okay, 2840 and 5752, and end that battle and a rematch. Can't do much to that department. Yeah. That's the. I played a match against Pharaoh War, where I had Chaos versus his Tomb Kings, and I brought a bunch of Forsaken, because I tested the Forsaken against the Tomb King's chaff, and they eat them up so bad, so fast, that I thought, well, that's probably good, because then they can get rid of all the chaff incredibly fast, and then kind of fight with the rest of my line. But Forsaken, while they can do that one thing really good, they do everything else really poorly. I wish I had just brought base Chaos Warriors with that Silver Shields my front line instead of the Forsaken. Just because the Forsaken, they have that one job they do really good, but as soon as that job's done, they can't do anything else. Soothe used to struggle against Undaje for a long time, just like me. Really? Cool. Man, I should go back and watch more games. Like, I have searched Undaje and you and Soothe, look at games, because in game one I didn't know who all the really top players were. I just liked watching any games because I found them all fun. 5745. 5745. So I don't even know Undaje's style. I couldn't even tell you what his style is. Okay, Akron Miners. 1025. And White Lions. 2741. White Lions are pulling a lot of gold out of this match. Then Undaje kind of AFK'd, and Soothe just catapulted to the top. Yeah. Game one was all Undaje. And you could see sort of Talaxlan Soothsayer's dominance in sort of the first year of game two. Yes, yeah, that's exactly it. Yep, never take a bad engagement. And that's exactly, when you're on point, and when you can see, that's exactly what you're always trying to achieve. And every once in a while, I'll try and take a little bit of that out of your game, but I have a hard time doing it. And Undaje was known for beating the counter build with a bad build consistently. He looked very broken in the past. Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. Game 3, I'm super excited for, but now I'm sort of, I saw a prediction that would put Game 3 release in May, June, and I think that sounds more like when it's going to release. So we're going to get so now that I know the announcement for the next DLC package comes in September, that means the DLC will probably be mid to late September or early October. And that puts the next pack, it's not going to get out before Christmas. Maybe it's an outside chance it gets out right at Christmas and they just do that for marketing. But it's probably out February. And that puts the announcement for Game 3 somewhere after that, so they can get the pre-order DLC out in April, and then the Game 3 in May, June. So I think that's where I saw a prediction where that's kind of went around those lines. And when I read the prediction, I'm like, yeah, that sounds correct. now that you see, because they say they have Lord packs. They still have to finish the greenskins or redo the greenskins, and they still have to redo the Empire. And really, they should redo Beastmen and Wood Elves, but I don't know if they're going to touch them. Rourke Boss. I remember a game where Sooth took an all-cav Empire list against Andage Scouts build, and Andage ended up winning that game barely. Really? Okay, 57.50. I already got this one done. 57.58. No, 57.58. Ekron Miners finished with 11.27. 11.27 and 3.418. 3.418. 181 gold. Ouch. So one more test for these guys. Rematch. The other time was in a semifinal, and Donjay banned my Empire and then beat my VC and Chaos with Empire. To me, these were his best feats. Nice. At that time, I'd never lost a single game to Empire with either VC or Chaos. Really? That's crazy. $58.07. $58.07. 11.09. 3.221. Okay, so they lost 141 gold, lost that at 70 gold a minute. What did we end up paying here? 0.20 seconds per gold, which is still not great. I mean, there's nothing here that's given us a decent seconds per gold rating. 0.13, 0.27, I guess the miners with blasting charges have been the best so far. 0.21, 0.18, 0.20. All right, we go on to the Longbeards. So here's where we're going to get a good seconds per gold, I think. I hope. We'll see. We know that Longbeards chevroned up can beat White Lions. The way he beat my Chaos list with 2 Shaggoths was legendary. No one ever did that again. Nice. Rourke Boss. He netted Kolak and managed to snipe him with a Griffin and Demis while all of his line was broken. Really? They just pulled out an impossible win. Nice. Okay. So we got Longbeards. Whoops. Longbeards, I said. All right. And we'll get that fight going. See, the longer this fight lasts, the better it is for the Longbeards. I might do some formation testing with the Longbeards to see, Rourke Boss, how you like to edge your Longbeards on to about like a 75-degree angle. I might do some testing like that to see how long I can get Longbeards to last, and just do that test out of curiosity. Well, these Longbeards are not lasting a whole long time. They're not getting them to half health either. Huh. Well, they're lasting longer than everyone else, but not as long as I'd hoped. And boom. 57.02, about a minute longer. 57, whoops, I'll say this is 48. 57.02. Longbeards finished with 12.35. And White Lions finished with 31.28. 183 gold. Ouch. Okay, so I just want to take that one number, bump it. 26. So that's the highest, right? Is it? 27 was 22. White Lions. 22. Miners with blasting charges 22. Yeah. that is the highest, 26. Well, we'll see how that continues. Really. I'm just going to save that. Copy this down. Okay, and we'll end that battle and a rematch. Rourke Boss, it kept me up a lot of nights. Veteran Longbeards compared to normal ones, yeah, there's a world of difference. And when I know this was actually one of the very first effects I ever tested. This was over 3 years ago now. I wanted to test the effects of Chevron on altering a losing engagement into a winning engagement. And the effects and cost are so big. Like, just changing that engagement around is just so massive. In terms of the total gold differential. Because you can see, I mean, I lost 183 gold. I could transform that into winning 180. So that's a 400 gold differential for a sort of a 300 gold spend. And that's the difference. And it's not only a 400 gold differential for a 300 gold spend, it ends up being a win instead of a loss. So their unit's routing while yours is still, you're still in command of your unit, which is a huge difference, right? 5724, 57, shoot, 48, 5724, Longbeards, 1290, and White Lions, 3223. 3223. Okay, now I want to start this battle and remember, stop it when that damn fight starts so I can remember to get that time. It should be around 48 seconds. Longbeards are very slow. They only got 26 speed. Okay. And boom. 49. We'll call it 49. Okay. Okay. Rourke Boss. Veteran Longbeards compared to normal. Yeah. You can pull negative 650 gold to positive 500 by spending 200-ish more gold. Yep. You watch the rank 9 Longbeards and Bugman's list I faced with the orcs here. Yep. Those Longbeards are so mean. Yes. Yes. That list with the four, not the four rock lobbers, right? You're talking about that crazy list? Oh no, you're talking about the list you played as the orcs versus the dwarfs. Okay. Yeah, that rock lobber list you played with as the dwarfs, because you had Thorgrim in that list, actually, I think. And he just tried to bomb you and fight it out. Four gyros, no. Yeah, I'm thinking of two games. I'm talking about one game where you were the dwarfs versus the greenskins, and you played Thorgrim, and then there's one games where you were the greenskins versus the dwarfs, where they had the gyros. Yeah, 4 gyros, 6 Longbeards, 4 Bugmans. Yeah. And no, essentially all immune to fear and terror, right? All immune to psychology. 5738. 738. 5738. And that's 1223. 1223. And we've got 3619. 1412. 256 gold they're losing there. That's a lot. Okay, in the battle, rematch. That rock lobber list was good, but the player was not nice. Yeah, clearly. Agreed. Agreed. There's no chance Orc can beat the Thorgrim list. You know, I've seen... did you see Shetland's new list yet, Rourke Boss? Versus High Elves? Because it is crazy. Freaking Shetland has some absolutely insane builds. And I saw a new list from A Move Hacker versus a new list from A Move Hacker versus Skaven that Zach Bisane played, and he played against Rigson. It was a really strong opponent. So I don't know if A Move's going to make that list public. Well, probably not for a month or so. I'll talk to him and see when I can cast that game, but it's a really good list. 722. Longbeards, 1191. 3528. And Rigson's list. Oh wait, that rock robber list. That rock robber list with the massive archers and stalkers list was the hardest you can get. That was ridiculous, to be perfectly honest. Rematch. You know, what's interesting is Rigson's Skaven list versus the Dwarfs was actually very close to your updated Skaven list versus the Dwarfs. He had Natty Bubo's sharpshooters plus 2 Jezzails, and then he actually brought Ikit Claw instead of Skrolk, and he brought Ikit Claw on a Doom Flayer, and he brought some Doom Flayers and 1 Doom Wheel, and then he brought 3 Storm Vermin with shields. I think your list has 2, and then slaves and just chaff beyond that. So it was a really strong list by Rigson versus A Move's new list. 5940. Dr. Nick, if you chevron up Longbeards, they beat the White Lions. Yep, they sure will. So at rank 9, they beat them. So when I get all this testing done, Dr. Nick, what I'm going to do is I'm going to find some chevron sweet spots for the Longbeards. So when I say sweet spots, I'm going to find the lowest chevron list, the lowest amount of chevrons that can beat the White Lions to Trace. And I don't mean beat them every time, but beat them more than 50% of the time. Then I'll find the sort of the chevron level, which probably is 9, but that beats them consistently. Then I'll find if I can get them to beat them with a set of blasting charges or some minor help, because I think Longbeards are going to be a real key to that front line, because they beat Spearmen so hard. So, and they beat those White Lions, and then we'll test them against those same builds eventually against the Swordmasters of Hoeth as well. 57. So, but I will do that same sort of testing and with other dwarf units. So it won't be just the Longbeards, but I mean, Longbeards are so good compared to everything else that it's just, and they're versatile because they're cheap at 650 and you can chevron them up. I mean, it's hard not to find yourself using them in almost every matchup because they have every other good quality too. 100 armor, shield, immune to psychology, encourage. Like they're so good. I definitely would like to see some other dwarf units made a little bit better, even if it had to cost basic Longbeards some of their capabilities. But it is what it is. 57. 1060 for the Longbeards. White Lions, 2893. Okay. Oops, this is a loss. Okay. Rematch. Our Arc Boss. I lost to Morgan with Skaven already. Oh, really? Yeah, I think it told you, and also his list. I am trying to remember that. The way you play that out, there's no chance for the rats. Huh. Dr. Nick, Grumbling Guard beat them reliably too, but for 150 more, yeah. Grumbling Guard is a good unit all around, and they might end up being the backline unit to bring. Frankly, right now, the backline support units are probably Dragonback Slayers And then to pair up with the Dragonback Slayers will probably be the Grumbling Guard, or Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, or a unit of Hammers. We'll see how the testing comes out, though. Rourke Boss, Gyros, Cannons, Thunders, and Chaff are the way to go. Okay. Dr. Nick, yeah, totally agree with you on the Longbeards. I mean, the Longbeards are so damn good. I mean, I love them, but I would like a little more balance in the Dowie infantry lineup, to be honest. But I'm not complaining about Longbeards, though. Don't get me wrong. I love these boys. They're like me. They're old and they're grumbly. Rogue Boss, no Slayers, really? Just Warriors and Longbeards. Okay. Yeah, Slayers might not be right in that matchup. And it is hard to tell when they're right and they're wrong. Like, I mean, Slayers are amazing in some matchups. And the Dragonback Slayers are actually way better than I thought originally in this matchup so far. But we'll see when we test them. So 5705. Exactly how good they are in terms of total value. Longbeards, we've got 1118, 1118, and White Lions, 3170. 3170. Okay, and the battle rematch. I'll send it again on Discord. Okay, thanks. Dr. Nick, my name is Gobble Slayer. You are the Gobble Slayer? No shit, man. I've been watching your vids for a while now. As a fellow Dowie main approve, well, I approve of you, Gobbo Slayer, because I've seen a lot of your games, and I see you on Discord. Cool, man. You got to send me games. Send me replays. I mean, I've got, to be honest, Aurora Boss, I think I have probably 30 Aurora Boss replays to do. I have some from Wizard Lizard, some from Zach B. Sane and A-Move Hacker, you Maze from Shetland. I mean, I have a whole bunch, but send me. I love your play. That is awesome. The Gobbo Slayer. Yeah, thanks for dropping in and saying hi, man. Dr. Nick works too. Here we go. I think this is this the last battle for these guys? I know Gobbo Slayer, you have a lot of games under your belt too. I don't know how many games you have on ladder. 5708. 5708. 08. Longbeard 1135. Okay, White Lions 2847. Okay, 152 gold they lost. They did the best at losing it slowly though. I mean, they held them for 155 seconds, and even though they lost 198 gold, they lasted. We only paid 0.24 gold per second, or we got 2.24 seconds per gold, so the value was there. Dr. Nick, hello, not sure, man. Appreciate the compliments. I really like your play as well. Found your army against Tomb Kings very interesting. Nice. Dr. Nick, I'm not sure, Rourke Boss, aren't you in the EU? No, Rourke Boss is in Australia. He plays by Varuk Sourfang. But if you guys, like, I know you play lots of ladder too. You probably ran into you guys probably ran into each other at least once or twice, especially during game one. If you played a lot during then. Okay. I guess we go to Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. So we'll save that. And the one thing Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are not actually bad at is putting down some damage. So you can see here's the problem with the white Longbeards. At just the base Longbeard, even if I was going to bring them, I wouldn't bring them like this at 650 now. Because you can see the average hit points the White Lions are left is 58%. So base waste longbeards at 650 are just not a good investment. So maybe at 1 chevron, we'll find that they can bring them down to an average of 49%. If they can bring them down to an average of 49%, that's a ton more value because that martial prowess is gone. And and just losing the ability to charge with those extra 14 stats, it's not nothing, right? So that might be one way to evaluate this. I honestly don't know how I'm going to evaluate everything at the end, but we'll see if the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass can pull them down past half health. That will be sort of, I think they will. So we're going to quick that battle, and we'll go get those units, so I think they will. Dr. Nick, I don't know if we had the honor of playing or not, but quite possibly, yeah. Tourney or quick battle, Rorka. That's an impressive spreadsheet, Dr. Nick, or Gobbo Slayer, if you please. I mean, I've probably streamed 1,000 hours of testing. I don't know, maybe streamed. No, I've probably streamed 100 hours of testing. Who am I kidding? I've definitely done well over 1,000 hours of testing, maybe a couple thousand. I love testing. I'm an engineer. I'm old. It relaxes me. I find it reduces my stress, and I just like testing stuff. So that's kind of my thing. I mean, I'm for sure I've tested 100 hours for every hour of quick battles. I don't play quick battles very much. I play some campaign, which I enjoy, but I really enjoy testing the most and just analyzing units. That's it. So that's my favorite part of the game. Okay, let's go to Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. And it's not like, Gobble Slayer, it's not like this is the best way to test or anything else like that. It's just how I test. I just try to make my tests really repeatable. That's the most important thing to me, so I can test the same units over time in the same way and look at changes. Because it really, really helped when we went from game 1 to game 2, because I started testing something like this about I started testing in June of 2016, and I started YouTubing in sort of July of 2016 and started doing my testing then. I still have all those old spreadsheets, and then I can go back and look at them, and I'll see what the difference between, like, there was a massive change from game 1 to game 2, and all kinds of units changed and their capabilities changed. Although I've gotten a lot more, I'll say my testing has become a little better. I think now I test seven times per matchup. I used to test 5 and sometimes 3. So 7 times is about right. You can never do it 100% correct, but you got to sort of do your best with what you got. And the way that I do this testing with unit testing fields and pick any general, you don't worry about other units routing, but the test also has its flaws because you don't get faction effects like Murderous Prowess. You don't get the Tomb King's faction heals. So, I mean, it's limited as well. But I think if you know how the testing is limited, what are the limits of testing, and how the testing was done, you can sort of account for those differences in your mind when you go to evaluating units. 5949. When you try to make that final evaluation of how good a unit is. So in my mind, I always peg Tomb King units up a little bit because I know they don't get their faction heal. Same with Dark Elf units. I always peg them up a little bit because they don't get their Murderous Prowess in this testing, or their Murderous Prowess. So finish. So here we go. White Lions are winning that pretty hard off the get. 15-2, 16-4. Now the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are coming back a little bit. They think the battle's even. Now they're going back to losing. Like in my calculations, I have a spreadsheet that I like to play with. In my calculations, the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass can win this, but they just, in the testing, they just doesn't seem to be possible. See, they got their murderous, or their martial prowess done, so that's good. Like where these Warriors of Dragonfire Pass might be really good is as a backline sweeper after the frontline engagement is done, because they could go up and clean up a unit of White Lions of Trace, right? They could clean this unit up pretty fast because their DPS isn't awful and they're only 700 gold. Plus they have shields. Plus they have charge defense against large. You know, they might be good. Sorry, I'll look at the chat. Nick, that's a lot. I feel you though. Whenever I lose a match or get an idea, I jump into custom battle and do testing. Yep. I just don't. It doesn't even matter if you learn a whole lot. Sometimes it's just fun. Sometimes I'll just do testing on my own. I'm like, I'm trying to stream it now because I know that there are surprisingly other people who like testing, and they like just watching testing. I mean, there's not very many, but I mean, I don't care. This is my hobby, and I just share my hobby with other people, and so. Yeah, you have a lot more testing in your belt than me, by the sound of it. Well, it's because of my testing is the way I relax. Because I have a pretty stressful amount of stress. I have a very busy job. I'm in the oil business, and I travel a lot, and then have to do a lot of things. So it's a way for me to relax. Orc Boss. That was when the game first released. Yep, Nick. I'm a stubborn dwarf that has to have lessons or grudges pounded into me to learn. Dr. Nick, Gobbo Slayer, I am exactly the same. You can ask a Worker Boss. My coach, I don't know if you've seen our coaching sessions, but a Worker Boss can swear to that I'm as stubborn as it gets. And you know, when a Worker Boss started training me, I told him, I said, this was like at our private conversations, I said, man, I'm going to do my best to be a good student. But it is so hard. It is so hard. I like to play 1,000 times, remember how it feels. Not a very efficient way to learn. Nope, that's right. Sue is like the dwarf sitter pillar in Warhammer World. Yeah, you guys have a lot of traits. That's true. Oh my god. That's why I empathize with the dwarfs. I've like I said, I've been my very first dwarf. I played D&D. My very first character was a dwarf cleric in 1983. And I remember I fell in love with dwarf lore right there and then. I started reading books back in 83 and I've been in love with dwarfs ever since because, I mean, I'm an engineer in real life. I mean, that's, you know, that dwarf ethos of being industrious, being stubborn and everything else serves you well as an engineer, but it's also a negative too sometimes because, you know, there's only so many times you can bang your head into a wall before you crack your skull. Fortunately, I haven't reached it yet, and I'm almost 50, so I might be able to make it. Dr. Nick, it's a common trait in Dowie mains, it seems. Yep, Professor Pipes, who's also used to main Dowie, talked to me about being really stubborn too. And you know, it's like Umaze. You watch his stuff, he's got that stubborn streak. And you know, when Umaze and I will test stuff, he'll play a bad matchup over and over and over. He's like it's like he doesn't care. Well, he does care, but you know, I know how the feeling is. You know, and you know, an A move hacker, and yeah, a work boss. I wasn't born in '83. Well, I am old, boss. You know, the '80s were a great time. I mean, it was like I was born and. I've lived such a great life because I grew up with the very first video games. I mean, my dad bought a video game console in 1974, and all it was a paddle. It had 2 paddles and a switch on it, and it would hook up to the TV, and it just wasn't called Pong because it had 4 games. It had hockey, tennis, you know, 2 other games. I can't remember where they were all, but you just had 2 paddles that you turned them, and they went up and down, and I remember playing that. And then, I mean, I started programming when I was really young. That was like when the Commodore VIC-20 came out. That changed the world. And then I fortunately I got a TRS-80 for Christmas one year, and it was most of the computers at that time were 16K, and I got one that was 64K, and I was over the moon. I was so happy. I couldn't believe it. I mean. I remember that Christmas. I couldn't believe my parents bought me a 64K computer, and you know, oh man. But you know, I remember programming my first programs, my first video games. Like I started making video games like really young, like simple ones, and I actually ended up when I was in university. My friend and his brother started BioWare. So I worked for a summer with BioWare on their very first game called Shattered Steel in 1995. So I got a credit on that game as well. I I did all the textures, I did animations, and did some builds and did the music. It's 56.45. 56.45. Where's Dragonfire Pass? 850. 850. White Lions finished with 2181. Okay, well that's not too bad. Only 117 gold lost, so we'll see. I just want to see this number real quick. 26, so not a whole lot more value for seconds per gold, but it doesn't cost it. They don't lose as much total gold, it seems. Okay. Whoops, I better get my date tested in there so I don't forget to put it in there. Copy, finish, save. Okay, so we'll exit out of there, quit the battle, rematch. Go back to chat. Come here, Jasui, you're a young yes, you are young, Rook Boss. Dr. Nick. Wow, for once I'm the youngest. 89. Oh, you are a pup. Just a babe in the woods. Rook, the first time I touched a PC was back in 1995. Nice. Dr. Nick, how did the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass do in testing? Oh, I'm just starting it. So this is the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass right here. So they, against the Spearmen, they absolutely demolished them. So they did extremely good against the Spearmen. And they got the White Lions down to half health. So, I mean, I'll do 7 tests per each matchup. So I'm going to do 7 tests of Warriors of Dragonfire Pass versus White Lions of Trace. I've already done 7 tests of Warriors of Dragonfire Pass versus Spearmen. And I will also do 7 tests of Warriors of Dragonfire Pass versus the Swordmasters of Hoeth. Because I want every single Dowie infantry unit, regiments of renown, and all to fight Spearmen 7 times. White Lions 7 times, Swordmaster of Hoeth 7 times, so I can sort of get a feel for what the best infantry are in the fight. And I'm going to look for some Chevron specials as well. So like you said, chevroned up Longbeards can beat White Lions. So I will look for a few of those sweet spots with not only Longbeards but other units. For example, just a quick trick you can get with chevrons is if you're going to bring hammers, bring them with 1 chevron always, because they get so much XP so fast. They'll have 2 chevrons within 30 seconds of fighting. So it's like you get a free chevron, and sometimes they'll get 2. So if you bring 0 chevrons, sometimes they'll get 1 in a fight. If you bring 1 chevron, every time they'll get 2, and they'll get a free one, and sometimes they'll get 3. It's really, really a nice way to get free gold, because you're no matter what, a miner takes 600 experience to go from 1 chevron to 2, and a hammer takes 600 experience to go from 1 chevron to 2. But a hammer gets that experience in literally 30 seconds. It's unbelievable. Like I'll show you. Well, I mean, the White Lions of Trace are not the best unit, but to do it, it's about 56.45. Let me get this date down here. 56.45. Okay, so Warriors of Dragonfire Pass got 621, and the White Lions finished with 1905. Not too bad, 1905. So only pulled 104 gold off of there. All right. So, Rook Boss, the first real game I played was Dust in 2000. Nice. Dr. Nick, cool. Zach, be sane, Rook Boss. You see the game Turn casted of us? Oh, does Turn got that? Is that the? Did you submit that Tomb King game? I saw Tomb King's game, but that wasn't you, Zach, was it? Dr. Nick? Yeah, some elite units get that +2 melee defense from 1 chevron, like the Blackguard and Ironbreakers, and there's a lot that get it from 1. The thing is elite infantry gains experience so much faster, and I don't know if it's a bug or it's a feature, but it takes 1100 experience points to go from 0 chevrons to 1. But for some reason, it only takes 600 experience to go from 1 chevron to 2. And then I think like 800 to go from 2 to 3. So it takes 1100 chevrons to go from 0 to 1, but it takes 1100 experience to go from 0 to 1 chevron, yet it takes 1400 experience to go from 1 to 3. So you essentially get a free chevron or 2 free stat points normally on those high tier units if you bring them with 1 chevron. So it's like free gold. It's really good. Okay. Maybe I'll just demonstrate it. Like, it's really neat, and it's actually pretty awesome. Whoops. Okay, so I'll go here. Okay, so I'll just end that battle real quick. End the battle. And you can see the White Lions barely got 1 chevron there by beating the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. So let's show, I don't know, we'll pick, we'll just go to the Dowie here and we'll pick hammers and we'll give them 1 chevron. So that takes them 47 and 36. 2 will go, yeah, so like to get to that second chevron, you get 3 stat points, but don't buy it, right? So get 1, and let's say I'm sending up against White Lions. So we'll start that battle, and you'll just see how fast they get to 2 chevrons. It's crazy. Because they only need 600 XP, and it's actually a good way to get free stat points. Because you look, those hammers, they only need 600 experience for the next rank. So we'll just start this, and you'll see they're at 1 chevron. You can see it's climbing really fast. Now they're at 2, just like that. They might even make it to 3 by the end of a fight with 1 unit of White Lions. It's really, really good. Oh, see, there they go. It's really good. They get that extra chevron. The thing is, it's not like they get it for free, but they get it free and fast. So they actually get to use those extra stat points in the rest of the battle. All right, so let's get back to our Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. And 800, 700, and start the fight. Rogue Boss. Oh, I didn't play that game out. Rogue Boss, because I thought 3 Shaggoth was just too cheesy. I didn't want to waste time before we could play another game. Haha. Dr. Nick, interesting. I have to keep that in mind when I use elite units. When you start running units like that, it's such a big investment already. It can be hard to find the gold. That's 100% true. But if you're going to feature a unit like that, it's a good way to feature it. You know what I mean? Like, you don't really bring. There's not a whole lot of times you're going to bring hammers on a build or giant slayers, but if you're going to bring giant slayers, they're going to get their chevron because they're going to last, and so they're worth bringing that 1 chevron, and they will get the value out of it because they're going to kill that much faster, right? Those extra stat points really do matter, especially on the it's just it just makes that much more powerful. So, and it's essentially, I don't look at it as much as finding free, as a costing gold, as getting free gold. That's the way I look at it, is you get free gold. It does not, like, you don't look at it that it costs you gold. I look at it as though it gets me free gold. And that helps my dwarf mind sort that out. Because I'm pretty stingy. The only time I don't do it, not the only time, the times I don't do that is because I have to get a 0 spend. So I can't, in good conscience, have a build that doesn't spend exactly 12,400 gold, or it drives me nuts. I mean, I sometimes I do just to try stuff, but it just drives me insane if I don't have that perfect 12,400 gold spent and it has to have it say 0 at the top. Even if it says 2, it drives me insane. Whoa, Warriors of Dragonfire Pass almost won that one. There you go. So this is what my calculation showed, that this could be won by the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. It's close. It's close. 55, 47. 47. 514. That might be an outlier, so maybe they can't win. I don't know, but 929 is, they're really close to being able to win that one. Whoops, I better go like this and just, whoops, undo. Copy. V. So they actually pulled positive gold out of that, though, 26 gold. So here again, the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are showing their value against the White Lions. So maybe they're worth it for that backline sweeper, because every once in a while they're going to get to be able to synergize with the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Not very often, but it's possible. And so if they're good on their own, that is a nice little hidden synergy. Dr. Nick, they do get it very fast, don't they? Yep. Dr. Nick, there's one thing I found to beat White Lions reliably in a vacuum for only 50 more gold. What's that? For only 50 more gold. I know you can beat them with basic Longbeards at 826 gold, but you gotta play with the formation a little bit to make that work. The thing that really, you just gotta hold that line long enough to let your troll hammers and your backline go to work. You know, that's the key. But I would like to be able to find a build where I could reliably win against a front line of 4 White Lions or 5 White Lions. You know, where I could actually expect to win that front line. It'd be that's sort of what I'm trying to find. So right now, my front line, I mean, I still have the same as Aurora bosses because that's where I got my build from when we did our high elf training, and I have in my front line Longbeards because that's what Aurora boss has, and they work because with that powerful backline of troll hammers and the Rune of Wrath and Rune to slow things down. They're so strong and they're very effective. Oh, are these Warriors of Dragonfire Pass going to win this? Well, this is going to be close. This is going to be damn close, boys and girls. I might have to just slow this down once they get below 1,000 health here. Okay, so 18. The reason I have to slow it because if the White Lions lose or go below 0 leadership and route, it instantly shoots you to the next screen unless you can pause it fast enough. So 884. I think the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass might win this. This is really, really close. No, the White Lions are going to win. Well, they're probably going to go both below 500 health because their leadership is high enough to do it, right? Yeah, this is the slowest part of testing, but I just got to change my position. Now the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass think they're winning. Great. Yeah, this is why units that are really close, I take forever to test because I always have to do it like this. I have to spend so many fights where... Oh, there you go. The White Lions are routed. Amazing. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass won. 54-41. Awesome. So the calculation was right. Cool. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass finished with 641. And the White Lions finished with 522. There we go. All right. Well, those Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are definitely heading up the ladder of potential backline sweepers. Because they catch a group of White Lions with their martial prowess gone, they're gonna kick the tar out of them. Okay, let's concede defeat. Yep. Whoa, shit! End battle. Didn't want to do that. Start battle. Dwarf warriors with great weapons, plus miners with blasting charges behind. 900 gold total. Nice. Zachary Sane. Zach be sane. And the chat was so mad at me leaving. Okay, I'm going to try that. Because one of the things, Dr. Nick, is that has actually performed pretty well in this overall testing so far, has been miners with blasting charges. So, let me see. Okay, start that battle. We'll get this test done. So, miners with blasting charges behind regular dwarf warriors. And so, interesting. I wonder if miners with blasting charges over I wonder if miners with blasting charges over top of Longbeards could get their blasting charges off and then just leave the fight completely and not get in there and support. And then help the back line and let the Longbeards win. I'm definitely going to test that too, because the miners with blasting charges have tested okay so far in terms of their value. The regular dwarf warriors are awesome against spearmen, but they get just shit canned versus the white lions. But with the support of the miners, I could see them doing obviously much better, and that is only 50 more gold, 57.21. So I will definitely test that combination. What's that? 57.21, really? Holy! Warriors Dragonfire Pass lost that one really hard. 11.68. So very swingy fight there. 29.41. And 190 gold they lost. Huh, interesting. Okay, so we'll test them 2 more times. Rematch. Actually, you know what I should do? I should go down to here, and I should Longbeards. +1, Longbeards +4, Longbeard +6, Longbeard plus Miners BC, Dwarf Warriors plus Miners BC, and Miners BC plus Miners BC. So there's a little trick with miners with blasting charges. Behind other miners with blasting charges, you can actually hold up a charge. Okay, let's get up there. Where are we? Okay, so here, where's Dragonfire Pass? Do we do 57.21 already? No, okay, that's done. Okay, 2 more tests for these guys. I just got to put down the tests I want to do so I don't forget them. That'll be extremely irritating if I do all this testing and then I do a video and there's one that I really wanted to see. See, the beauty of Trollhammer torpedoes, though, is one volley of Trollhammer torpedoes, I'm sure, will make the Longbeards beat the White Lions. That's why those Trollhammers are so powerful. They're so good against chariots and everything else like that, but they're probably one volley worth a difference in making that fight turn the Longbeards' way. So I might try that as well, just out of curiosity. So 57.33. 11.27. And we got White Lions with 33.52. Not great. Not great, but, you know, it's the whole thing we're looking at. Oh, Dwarf Warriors have great weapons. Okay, the great weapons are important. Okay, I will go and put that. Yeah, the Longbeards with blasting charges, I mean, a bit expensive though. Yeah, they're a bit expensive for the frontline engagement, but the thing is, you then use the miners to muck up things in the back line like chariots. I'm just gonna put this here. Okay. Whoops. Dwarf Warriors. Dwarf Warriors with great weapons plus miners with blasting charges. Okay, we'll do that. And this is the last fight. Start battle. Okay. So Dr. Nick, I just watched that replay today, Zach and Aurora. I was surprised to see the triple Shaggot. Nice. I'll have to look at it. Zach, I'll have to find that game and go watch it. So it was, Chaos versus who in that game? Okay, 57-12. These last 3 games, the White Lions sure showed their mettle. Definitely really good. 819. 2231. So total of 95 gold lost. Very good on the gold spent here. The best so far, the Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Yeah, they're definitely a candidate. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are definitely a candidate. 28.28 seconds per gold. Definitely a candidate. Is that the highest so far? It is too. So highest seconds per gold so far, and they only lost 95 gold. So they're a candidate for a sweeper unit. So now we go into the Longbeard with great weapons. And I know the Longbeards with great weapons get their asses handed to them, but that's fine. I want to see how much gold they lose again. I can't remember. I did this test a while ago, but might as well do it again. But I don't even know where I would find that. Where did I do chevrons? Oh, that's for my next chevron video. Did I do it here? Dwarf Warriors? No. I didn't do that there. I think I did it on another spreadsheet. Okay. Just watch the... While I was practicing with him, just testing out good Shaggus worth. Yeah, it turns out they're great. We played Chaos Bretonia 4 games that day. Nice. Okay, yeah, you sent that in. Cool. Because you guys were talking about it yesterday, right? That matchup, which was really interesting. And I saw Turin... Oh, I haven't seen that game because I saw a game of Chaos Bretonia, and I'm like, oh man, that's really neat because Zach and Rucker were talking about that matchup, and that's the one. Cool. Because it's in my feed, I just haven't gone and got it yet. So White Lions versus Longbeards with great weapons. End that battle. We'll go get those Longbeards with great weapons. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass, definitely a candidate for backline sweeper. Okay, and let's get our Longbeards with great weapons. Yeah, this fight's an absolute beatdown. But hopefully the Longbeards can at least get him to half health. I think they do. I don't remember. I mean, yeah, I don't remember. Yeah, they're winning right away. So 400, not doing too bad. They're going to get him to half health for sure. Not as bad as I remembered. Yeah, they got him down to half health there. Dr. Nick, you're a rising star in the competitive scene, Zach. I've been seeing you everywhere. There's some I know I have been seeing Zach everywhere too. Holy! The Longbeards with great weapons really going to win this? There's no way this is happening. No. Close though. Holy crap. Very, very even. That's shocking right there. Huh. Am I game bugged? That's not too bad at all. 56, 53. 56, 53. We'll call that 49. Oh, where did these guys go? 49. Yeah. Copy. And Longbeard's great weapons finished with 508. Maybe it's Longbeard's great weapons. I mean, Longbeard's great weapons are very good against the Spearmen in terms of a value proposition, and they're good in the back line. They got good mass. They're good against chariots. They're good against cavalry. Maybe it is them, and they obviously have immune to psychology and great leadership. And buff for White Lions 898. 898. Only 22 gold differential. Well, if it finishes like this, then you know it's game over. Like Longbeards with great weapons will be the backline support. Will be a backline support. Just one. I'm looking for one or two backline support units. So Zach be saying, I've had nothing else to do really. But thanks. Dr. Nick, no problem. You play really well in your games. Yeah, man. There's been some really fun games. You know, in these long lulls between DLCs and stuff, it does get to be a little bit more of the hardcore players and fans and everyone are out there. And just the general level of casts have been really good, and the tournaments are there. Like it feels like the, you know, despite there being a lull, that the community is still pretty lively and on the competitive scene. You know, definitely a big drop in the campaign scene. You know, but the competitive scene, it seems to be very lively right now because everyone's got so many honed in builds and doing pretty good on there. Huh. Longbeards with great weapons. Not bad. Again. Against the White Lions. Huh. 57-26. Let's go. 580. Whoops. 588. And White Lions finished with 1700. Much better. Oops. 1700. 130 gold they pulled that time. Yeah, that's more like it. Pulling 130 gold. Rematch. But those Longbeards made that close enough. That makes me think that if I ran this 20 times, the Longbeards are going to win that at least once. I mean, who knows? Maybe they're going to win it a few times. Maybe they're going to surprise me and win it like half the time here. I doubt it. Oh no, the White Lions just get so much value off of that charge, off the first little bit. But to be fair, they don't have as much health as Longbeards to start with. But they're winning 3-2 right now. Yeah, they're crushing the Longbeards right now, and they still have their martial prowess. Now it's gone. So now the Longbeards can start to come back, but they don't have enough units to make it. Right? That's the problem. But I'm going to say this performance is not awful for the Longbeards with great weapons. 57-22. Look, they might be able to make a reasonable backline sweeper. I guess we'll see how they do against the Swordmasters of Hoeth as well. 401 for the Longbeards. 1308. 94 gold they lost there. Like where I would like to see the Longbeards with great weapons really in this matchup is to be like 50 gold behind. I mean, not pulling their value of 750. You know, but let's start pulling 700 gold would be fine with me. And a rematch. Yeah, well, you have the martial prowess gone. Runes or blasting charges help a lot with that. Yeah, or artillery. So that's the trick with the high elves, isn't it? I mean, if you just get their... I mean, that's why I think at the highest level of play, their units don't hold up, because good players don't have to focus fire them until they're routed. They only have to focus fire them until they're half health. So that can be taken advantage of in competitive play. So I know that for the longest time, lots of people think White Lions are terrible, but I think they're not Chaos Warriors with great weapons or anything like that, but they're not terrible. And they have a 30% shield, missile resist, yep. And they have that white, nice loose formation, so they can actually get to a fight relatively unscathed compared to tightly packed infantry like Dwarf Infantry or Harganeth Executioners or Swordmaster of the Hoeth or anything like that. That loose formation really does make a difference. Boom. Oh, that one did not go so good for the Longbeards. 57-46. Okay. Longbeards finished with 882. White Lions 2314. 186 gold they pulled out of that. Yikes. So Longbeard lost 186 gold there. Not great. Okay, well that looks more like what I remembered. That's why you test a few times. Vin, how you doing, buddy? Good to see you. Zach, those are just the ones people decide to cast. Yeah. You know, it's hard to judge by watching games that are cast. So, I mean, I like casting any dwarf game. I don't care if it's a high-level game or it's a new player game or it's one of my own games or anything like that. And I always cast it with a pretty heavy slant towards the Dowie units and watching them perform. And where lots of guys only like casting super competitive games where they're really close. And when, and when you watch super competitive games between super competitive players, you don't see common mistakes that you can relate to. I know when I watch high level casts, I'm not as involved as a fan because I can't play that good. So I don't understand what's going on in the game. I don't understand why that's a good play. But when I watch, someone more at my level cast a game, I'm like, okay, I get it. That game I understand. That play makes sense to me, and I kind of I'm a little bit more on board with that, which is weird in a way, but I think part of it is that really strong, like high level play is often not explained well enough to involve more players. Like, I mean, I know when I'm watching, if I'm watching a game between Falcon and Talaxlan Soothsayer, I'm watching an amazing game. I get it. I know that I am. And, but I don't understand everything that's going on in that game, and no one explains it. No one really takes the time to explain high level play really thoroughly. So it's hard to get involved as a fan when you can't truly relate to the gameplay that you're watching, which is why I watch Heir of Carthage cast a game, and I'm there with that. He's the one that actually got me into YouTubing because I understood how he was playing, I understood his comments, I understood his casts, and he's a decent player, but he's not like a high level tournament player or anything. So I just loved his games, and I've yet to see a really, really thoroughly I think I find it's difficult for really good players to explain to the mid-level players like myself, just your average players, what's going on in a game. And I know Rourke Boss, when you and I talked a lot, like we went through quite a bit of chat before we actually filmed our training videos. And I know that was the thing. Like, I mean, you had talked about 50 ideas in the first 4 minutes. I was like, whoa, I can't even process the first one. And I couldn't even process the first 5 things. It was just so much stuff. And then when you finally, I remember when we were kind of talking, and then Aurora, when you finally just dialed it right down to, okay, here's the first thing we're going to do. We're going to identify the opponent's army. And then I'm like, okay, I'm on board your train now, coach. Let's head out of the station. 5742. 5742. Okay, Longbeard's great weapons. 768. 768. Oh, 768. Oops, I made a mistake there. And 768 and 2342 for the White Lions. Ouch. That's another big loss of 200 gold. Let's see. Okay. Oh man, I got a lot to catch up on. Okay. Zach, I get crumped on occasion as well. Dr. Nick, people have been spamming White Lions at me since I started playing Dowie, so I think they've always been popular there. Yeah, true. Dr. Nick, oh, any players that give you trouble, Zach? Zach, ODM Mukip, never beaten him. Yeah, cool, Zach. I tend to always lose to his high elves in particular. Never beaten Falcon either. Zach, man, I hope, Zach, Aurora Boss is still in here listening. Because Aurora Boss actually broke down Mukip's High Elf build, because Mukip's High Elf build is actually pretty spectacular. It's really, really good. And in a private conversation, Rorquaboss broke down Mukip's High Elf build to me, and it was an amazing chance to get into to really go through that stuff. So maybe you guys can get together sometime and just go through that. Zach saying if Rorquaboss has more subs than they would, yeah. Dr. Dick, I've only been Falcon a couple of times, and that was long ago before he got really good. Oh yeah, Dr. Dick, sure. Everything you're saying makes sense to. Well, everything I'm saying makes sense to you, Gobble Slayer, because you're a good player. Like, you're better than me. So I like people that are kind of in that top echelon of competitive play, where they played the competitive players, they understand the meta, are never going to struggle keeping up with what I'm doing. And I think some of the stuff I'm talking about can keep guys like you interested, because you can contribute to my understanding of the game just through comments and stuff like that, which I think is really enjoyable for me, because I know I always, in my videos, I always ask for comments, and a lot of times, good players will drop in and give me really interesting comments that I learn a ton. So I think the fact that I'm sort of just an average general, and I'm able to learn a lot from other players who drop into my comments and say hello, I think is something that is enjoyable. Like, you're not going to see, I like obviously, just because I just do so many niche things, I mean, it's not ever going to be a place for a lot of competitive play, but like, I get a lot of good advice from great players, like, which I really, really enjoy. Okay. Dr. Nick, I only played my Dowie against Mukip once. It was close, but he still won with full health Chariot, so I need to do better. Huh. Rorquaboss, are you on Discord? Or Rorquaboss is on Discord. He is absolutely on Discord. I don't know if he's on Discord now, Zach. Dr. Nick, I meant everything you said about having trouble understanding what someone says at the high level, needing to break it down to be relatable to several. Yes, totally, Gobble Slayer. I mean, that is absolutely, if someone could do that, because you see guys that are good at breaking down, like Party Elite, fantastic at breaking down games, but he's not on an elite level. Like, he is great at breaking down games, and he would tell you that too. I mean, he's not an elite player, but he's outstanding at breaking down games and making them, and just casting his games. And you see, there's some people that are really good at breaking down the games, but there's very few that come into that really, really high level of breaking down. And I don't mean being good at breaking down the games. I mean, I think I know what you mean, Gobble Slayer. It's good at breaking down a game so that your average to below average player can really understand what just happened. So that me, as a viewer, I get to be the armchair quarterback, where I can now not only understand that concept that I've learned from watching the cast, I can watch the next game and say, oh, he should have, used the Helm of Discord in this situation, because I remember what was said on the last time. So, yeah. Rorquaboss, I am on Discord. Cool. Zach be saying you should join Lotus Moons. Man. Yeah, Lotus. So, Lotus, this is the funniest thing. I know Lotus is a freaking amazing player, and I see him. He's a real contributor to the community, too. But it's like that kind of thing is I wish he would get on freaking YouTube more. Like, like I know he's actually on Twitch quite a bit, but he should get on YouTube more. Rorquaboss, Party Lead is good at breaking down a game, and with those great cinematics. I know. It's like there will come a time where someone can, where the games really develop into those, where an elite player can truly get through to an average player. That's gonna happen. It's hasn't, like, it's kind of, there's some times where you see that happening from now, but Rorquaboss, but Sue's cast is more informative in terms of mind behind the move. Well, I don't know. My Rorquaboss, sometimes I sit there and giggle at a cannon for 30 seconds in my cast, so I don't know how informative that is. And I know when I watch your cast, so I just watched your cast today on that Tomb King's Chaos game, which was extremely informative. And it's more informative to me now, Worker Boss, because you and I went through a lot of personal training. So I started I'm just an average player, and I've spent a lot of time in the game, and it still took me a long time to start understanding what you were saying. And we were really working on that. So, it's really bridging the gap where elite players take so many things for granted, they have struggled to point it out to average players, if I could put it that way. Okay, 57-42. Okay, we'll end that battle and rematch. You need to watch casts like Sue. Aerocrastic, yep, I like watching his. Lotus, Falcon's Twitch streams are very good. So, like Aerocrastic, I just watched his one of his streams tonight. He cast one game, then he went through some builds, and then he played one. But his are really good too. And when he takes the time to really explain what he's going through, and he slows down a lot. They're good for a competitive player or someone who knows more about the competitive scene. Like I can't, like I said, I'm never going to understand everything that's going on at the highest level of this game. It's just I'm not capable. I'm not going to live long enough to learn long enough to really understand what the top level players are explaining, unless it's explained in a top level way to get through to an average player. But there's nothing wrong with just being straight up entertaining, because I know some guys are just entertaining to watch. Like I love watching Janet on Occasions cast. He's just one of my favorites to watch. Because I like his casting style. I like Aurora Boss, when you do your cast. I like your cast for the explanation. But I like your cast for the way that you describe things, and I couldn't tell you what it is, but to me it's always engaging, and and some people you just like watching their cast. Some people for some reason you just never get on board. It's nothing against that person. It's just you just for some reason it's never quite there. 5806. 6. Beards, 946. White Lions, 2989. Oh, 277 gold they lost there. Ouch. That's what I remember. Rourke, you need to upload more videos. They're great. Zach, agreed. Rourke needs to upload more videos. Rourke Boss, Zach, when me and Rourke Boss were planning our first 4 training sessions, Rourke Boss could tell you, I bet you I dogged him every single time we talked to upload more videos, just because I want to watch his casts. To Sue, A-Move told me that you should cast a game of his to build. Okay, I will. I talked about that earlier today because I love that. I'll probably cast it in a couple of weeks. I'll give him time to play his build. Janet's also. It's like, it depends who you like. Like the thing. Janet has that little wicked little sense of humor, and that's a little more subtle. And he throws in. He throws in a lot of commentary and a combination of really beautiful cinematic shots, which is one style. But he doesn't use his telestrator ever, so it's a style that you like. So when I just want to chill out and watch some games like that, I like listening to Janet go over a game. It's really good, and there's always something interesting or funny. you know, in the way he puts things, because he has kind of a dry, sarcastic sense of humor. 57, 55. 55. Longbeards with great weapons, 986. And White Lions, 2783. Whew, 242. So 164 gold total lost. Only 18 seconds per gold. Though, I will say at least the Longbeards got him down to 37% health. But here's where you look. So here's where you look. The Warriors of Dragonfire Pass. Oh, these are all losses. Warriors of Dragonfire Pass lasted 194 seconds and won 14% of the time. The Longbeards with great weapons cost 50 more gold. They lost every single time, and they only lasted for 133 seconds. So these Warriors of Dragonfire Pass are looking like, a real, like I said, a real good candidate for a backline support unit. I was actually really hopeful there after watching that first battle. So I thought, oh my god, the Warriors are like, did something happen to the Longbeards with great weapons? Okay, so time for the Slayers. I'll be interested to see if the Dragonback Slayers can beat a group of White Lions. I don't know if a group of Slayers can, but we're going to find out. Okay. Zach, I do love those strategic arrows. Me too. I just like pointing them at stuff. I can point them around and around and around. It's like I don't know. It's like watching cannons or hearing them shoot. I don't know why. To me, it's internally satisfying. Okay, so let's grab our base Slayers, and then we've got Grumbling Guard next. Okay, I know the Grumbling Guard beat the White Lions for sure, and the Grumbling Guard might be a unit of choice in that backline too, because they have charge defense against large, and they're very good against chariots because they have that good mass. Oh, we'll find out. I might need to switch here, but so we'll go here. Okay, and stop. 5950. Okay, 814. Copy. Okay, here we go. Oh yeah, Slayers are losing pretty bad. But they're going to get them below their martial prowess. There they go. Slayers? No. Nope. Whoops. I better keep track of these guys. Because if the Slayers disappear and there's no Slayers left. Oh, they have 2 left. We'll stop it here. Because there's 34 White Lions left and 2 Slayers left. 5809. 5809. Slayers finished with 88 health, and the White Lions finished with 1296. Oh, White Lions pulled 300 gold out of that. That is not great. Oops. Copy. I always go too fast when I copy that down. Okay, better save that. Okay, so. See defeat, yes. Rematch. Yeah, one of the things, Work Boss, that all you guys with accents have is, I don't know what it is, but accents accents make casts more interesting. Like, that's part of why I like Janet's cast, just that English accent, you know. And for some reason, Work Boss, every time you say Marauder, like, you just have like a, I don't know, it's like, I wish I could explain it. I love the way you say Marauders. I could listen to you talk about Marauders all day. Oh my god. Yeah. It's funny, there is no good French accents out there that I can think of. I'd love to see a caster with a really thick French accent. I think it would be great. There's some German casters and Russian. I think, is Falcon Russian? Slayers won't. Yeah, Slayers don't win this. Slayers are actually really poor in an infantry engagement. Though Slayers did excellent against the. Slayers did really good against the Spearmen. Like they pulled positive gold and everything. Like very, very strong. 58-29. 29. Slayers finished with 200. And the White Lions finished with 41 out of 75 models in 1809. Okay. Ooh, 337 gold. Ouch. That's painful right there. Concede defeat. Yeah, and a rematch. The Brook boss. Haha. Dr. Nick, please cast some games. Yes. Dr. Nick. Gobbo Slayer. Your work boss, you do have a strong accent, but it for some reason it makes casting of anything, any type, more interesting if you have an accent. I mean, if I really wanted to grow my channel, like an honest, like if my goal in life was to build my YouTube channel, I'd lay on my Canadian accent all the way. I'd turn it up to 9, because like a Canadian, like I mean, I still have enough Canadian accent that you can hear it, but that's not how I grew up. I mean, I grew up in northern Saskatchewan in a tiny farm in a tiny town, and the way we talk to each other, it'd be like, why don't you go grab a 2-4 or we'll head out to the lake, eh? We're gonna grab Johnny's boat and we're gonna give it out for a spin. Don't bring none of that American beer though this time if you want to get in my boat, eh? So that's sort of how we talked. And if I'm sure, because just randomly normal things sound interesting with a heavy accent. It's just the way it is. I don't know why it is. It's just it is. 60. Okay. Dr. Nick, Dragonback Slayers and Giant Slayers beat White Lions. Okay, but they're much more expensive. Yeah. Dr. Nick, haven't watched your stuff yet, O'Rourke. I have to take a look. Gobble Slayer, go to a Worker Boss's channel and watch his casts. They're really good. And like a Worker Boss just started putting on these new thumbnails, and I love them. Worker Boss, my favorite thumbnail of yours. I want to make a video of just that, because my favorite thumbnail of yours is that one you say you have the guy riding the mammoth that says, "I'm gonna kick your D." And then the guy's name in there was Dick Kicker. Oh, Zach, you're from Minnesota. You're from Minnesota, eh? Yeah. No, I've been down to Minnesota a few times. Yeah. And I find I have no problem understanding anyone from Minnesota, and they sure understand the cold just like we do up here in Saskatchewan. No, I've been to Minnesota many times. I used to work... So... I used to go down to Fridley, Minnesota, right by Minneapolis there all the time, because we had a plant there. So I used to go there all the time. Yep. Back when Northwest Airlines was still alive and kicking, Northwest had a hub in Minnesota, in Minneapolis, and it was a great hub. Like, that airport's really nice, and I used to fly through that airport a ton. Really nice airport. And Giant Slayers got 282. And White Lions. Okay, so what are those White Lions? 2100. Ooh, that's going to be painful right there. 368 gold. Those White Lions took off the Slayers there. Ouch. So I guess base Slayers are vulnerable to missiles, and they're vulnerable to White Lions apparently. They're really good against some other things, though, obviously. Okay, so go, escape, see defeat, yes, and rematch. Oh yeah, Fridley was your high school football rival? No way. Oh my god, that's crazy. That's a small world, man. Small world. Yeah, the plant in Fridley was a U.S. filter plant. U.S. filter. I haven't worked for U.S. filter since 2004. No, 2000. I worked for 7 years there. Started in 98. So 2005. Okay, how many Slayers? 6. I'll keep playing until we get down to sort of like 100 health. Let's see, and boom. Okay, 58-18. Oh, another 58-18 at 84 health. White Lions finished with 1906. Yeah, the White Lions are really solidly winning this. Like, they're not just winning this, they're pulling like 300 plus gold out of this fight, which is really bad. Really bad. Zach, they robbed us of state twice. You know, doesn't surprise me. Doesn't surprise me. Those you know, a bunch of bad people in Fridley, man. Bunch of bad people. Like I'm talking like the people that would rob you of state. But I know that feeling. So your rival was Fridley. When I grew up, our rival was a town next door. It's called Maidstone. God, I hated Maidstone. I still hate Maidstone. That was freaking 35 years ago. But still, you never forget your high school rivalry ever, and you're always gonna hate them forever. Yeah, well, the thing I remember about Minneapolis in that area is, man, the roads were nice there. Like, there's some of the best freeways in the U.S. Anywhere I drove in the U.S., some of the best freeways were in Minneapolis area, sort of the greater Minneapolis area. Fantastic freeway system. I mean, it was that way sort of late 90s, early 2000s anyways. I mean, I don't know how it is now, but I can't imagine it's changed a whole lot, because they were really fantastic back then. They might be a little worn in now, but they would still be pretty good, I imagine, unless the population has grown a lot. Okay, 178, 58-10. Okay, Slayers, we've got 178. White Lions, we've got 1535. 300 gold again. Ouch. See, defeat, yes. Rematch. Yeah, 35 is nice. Okay. Alright. Get going, boys. Get in there and kick some tail. Let's go. The White Lions aren't better than you, they're just a little bigger than you. Gotta get in there and fight, boys. Oh, there's a nice flying kick. So my favorite animation from the Slayers is not the flying kick, it's a flying headbutt. And actually, not just Slayers do that, all Dwarfs do it. It's my favorite animation. Because the flying headbutt's sort of like a whole nother level of, you know, F you. Flying headbutt. That's why it's my favorite animation. 58-11. Very consistent fight in terms of timing. 98. The DPS is pretty stable. White Lions, 13-16. It's all right around that 300 gold mark. Very, very stable results there. See defeat, yes. Rematch. I'd say it's the best place to live in the States. I thought it was great. I traveled a lot in the States, and I did live in Houston for 3 years, and man, I would go back to Houston, Texas in a second. It was so cheap to live there. I paid 11% taxes. There was no state tax. I only paid 11% taxes. For the first 6 months, it felt like every month I was robbing a bank. I had so much money left over from what I was used to. Canadian taxes are very high, much higher than even like northern states like Minnesota, Oregon, Washington, North Dakota taxes are a little higher too, but they're not Canadian style taxes. But the taxes in Texas were nothing. And not only were the taxes super low in Texas, housing was cheap, groceries were cheap, everything was cheap. What a wonderful place to live. I really enjoyed it, except it was so hot. That hot humidity was crazy. 5809. 5809. Let's see what the Slayers finished with. 56. And the White Lions, 1666. 336. So average 323 gold at 200 gold per minute. What did they finish with here? 11 seconds per gold. So it's the best place. So hey, which faction of the ones remaining should I main tomorrow? Beastmen, Skaven, Vampire Counts, or Tomb Kings? Death. Beast. I don't know. I will say, if you're going to do it tomorrow, I was going to say Skaven too. The trade-off, though, your health's so good in Canada. Healthcare isn't good here, man. That is a giant myth. The myth of healthcare in Canada being great is all from this Michael Moore movie, which is just the biggest load of BS I've ever seen. It was a Michael Moore movie done way back, like maybe 15 years ago, where he actually came to Canada and he walked to Windsor and he went to some houses and saying, "Oh, Canada's safe and Canada's this and Canada healthcare." Healthcare is not great here. I don't know why this myth keeps getting promulgated in the U.S. I went to the U.S. There's no place in the world with even close to as good a healthcare in the U.S. And that's for me living there. I had a friend that got into a bad motorcycle accident in Nevada. And, I've experienced the healthcare systems in both countries. So he got into a bad motorcycle accident in Nevada, and he had his own nurse. It was unbelievable how good the care he was. He had a ruptured spleen. A broken clavicle. It was pretty bad. But he had his own nurse for the entire time. He had unbelievable care. I remember when he came back, he couldn't stop talking about how amazing the care he got in the U.S. was. And then when I lived in the U.S., I'm going to say the U.S. healthcare is second to none. Now, where people get all bent out of shape is they talk about healthcare being free. Healthcare is not free in Canada. My taxes are 50% here in this country. When I lived in your country, Zach, the taxes I paid were 11%. I had so much money in my pocket, it was unbelievable. And then I paid my healthcare insurance. It was something reasonable, like $300 or $400 a month. It wasn't that much compared to the taxes I pay in Canada. And I had an amazing healthcare plan. I had exactly the plan I wanted. The deductible I wanted and everything else like that. Where people lose perspective is when they start talking about, well, if you can't afford healthcare, you don't get healthcare in the U.S. That's also not true. If you get badly hurt in the U.S., it's not like hospitals will turn you away. It's where people get turned away is when they don't have health insurance and they have to make choices on drugs and everything else like that. The way I looked at it is my second ex-wife was an American, and she worked as a waitress for a long time, and she made enough money to pay for her health care too, easily. So there's a surprising difference between people that can afford the health care that don't buy it and people that just won't. So the whole idea of Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act was actually pretty smart. It was a very good idea that said everyone had to buy healthcare because everyone can afford it, and it's essentially a tax. I understand what the right wing had against the Affordable Care Act, but it was actually a really good idea in terms of how it was meant to operate, but it never did operate quite right. But I hope you all find a way in the U.S. to work to get your healthcare where it needs to be, because healthcare in Canada is not good, and it's really expensive. We pay for our taxes. I had I'll say career-ending knee injury. I played rugby competitively for a very long time, and when I was 28 years old, I tore my ACL, and that was it. And I got misdiagnosed, first of all. Then when I finally got it diagnosed as a torn ACL, it took me 18 months to get the surgery. And so I ended up spending 2 years before I got the surgery, then another year recovering, and then all of a sudden I was 31 years old. I'd been inactive for 3 years, and that was the end of sports for me forever. So at 31 years old, I stopped playing sports. In the U.S., I would have had that. First of all, I would have got diagnosed properly, and I would have had the surgery within 5 days when the swelling went down, and I would have been back and playing rugby in under a year from the time of my injury, instead of waiting for 2 years and then another year to recover. So, that's it's a real big myth. That is a real big myth. That it's free and that it's good. I mean, you talk to anybody here, you'll get the same story. And you talk to anyone who's lived in both countries, you get the same story. Now, where U.S. healthcare needs work is around the edges, when people can't afford insurance. And I don't want to say any insurance. I mean good enough insurance to take care of themselves and their families. And that's where you get people around the edges that struggle. And that's why the actual how well your economy is doing is so important in terms of the general affordability of healthcare for everybody in the market. So, yeah. This battery, sure. Yeah. So time to test the grumbling guard, and then that'll probably be the last test for the night, and then I will crash. 41 kills. I mean, it's not great, but it's not absolutely atrocious or anything like that. Okay. Good dental care too, though I will say the dentists in Canada are every bit as good as the dentists in the US, because dental care in Canada is private. And you have to have insurance to get dental care. So if you don't have insurance in Canada, you don't get dental care. You have to, and usually you get it through work, or you can pay for private insurance. It's one of those things. So dental care in Canada and the US they're both private, and they're both equally as good. I love my dentist, who's awesome. And I actually, when I got a new dentist in Houston, he was really, really good. I mean, but they were both the same, but both private. And but when it comes to private dental care, I mean, I picked my dentist, the one that I wanted. I had to try a dentist. I mean, back in the late 90s that I didn't like, and then 2003, I found the dentist I still have today. I think I went through 2 or 3 dentists. I just didn't like the way they worked. And then I found this dentist that I have now. But it's the same in the U.S., and private dentistry is the way to go, and just insurance, I think. One. There we go. Okay, 5738. Whoops, we're going to call that 5738. And 48. We'll call it 49, probably. That's what it is. I'll double check it. Okay, and the grumbling guard finished with 2617. White Lions finished with 802. Solid 89 gold, and they got that job done in 2 minutes. Not bad. That's not bad at all, actually. Okay, so I need to go out of here and reset this test up. Okay. Okay, so I need these guys to be the dwarfs, and I need the grumbling guard here, and I need you to be the high elves, and I need you to be the white lions. Okay. Okay, there we go. That'll be work out a lot better. The White Lions think they're winning. Holy crap. Oh, they're pretty even. Oh, there we go. Now the Grumbling Guard are winning. So now we should see, this is probably where the fatigue effects plus martial prowess both sort of drop at the same time, is what it looks like to me. 5741. $26.32. 694. You know what's funny is when I lived down in the U.S., so lived down in Houston, Texas for 3 years, and I worked down there for a lot. Like I've traveled all around the U.S. For work. But one of my first really good friends in Texas was ex-U.S. Army, and he was he hadn't turned 60 yet, but he was like 58, 59. He's right up there, getting ready to turn 60, and he was he was from Texas, ex-U.S. Army, and he did private security for a number of years. And still volunteered anytime there was like anything major going on. Like he would volunteer and go out with I don't know if it's quite the National Guard, but there's sort of like a way that ex-military can volunteer their time to go and help when there's major events like New Orleans and floods and everything else like that. And he did all kinds of stuff like that. But he was a mechanic. He was a forklift mechanic, and we got to be really, really good friends. And boy, he taught me so much about the U.S. and kind of the culture, a lot of stuff that I never really understood as a Canadian until I lived down there and got to be really good friends with him. But one of the things I liked the best about southern, about Texas and sort of that southern politeness is there is a certain politeness when concealed carry is a thing and everyone who you talk to can have a gun on them. You don't know. So there's a certain politeness that you have when people talk to each other down there. I don't know if that's why it is, but down in Texas, people didn't insult other people the same way they do in Canada. So if someone did something really dumb down in Texas, then no one was ever really insulting that person. Like no one like said, "Oh, that person is such an idiot." They'd always say, "Oh, bless his heart." Someone would do something dumb. You'd hear someone be comment like, "Oh, bless his heart." It was like, that's one of my biggest memories of sort of Southern culture is sort of the way that they diffuse a lot of sort of bad situations through a sort of backhanded politeness. I don't know how to describe it, but it just somehow works. That's one of the things I really, really remembered about living in Houston and being friends. I have a good friend. His name was David. He was an awesome guy in the U.S. military, ex-U.S. military, 5718. Taught me a lot about U.S. culture. Changed my mind on a lot of things I never really understood as a Canadian. A lot of American culture and ideas. 2254, 54, White Lions, 520. Yep, he took me shooting a bunch of times. Like he was I wouldn't say he's a gun nut or anything, but he was military, so that was really fun because in Canada, like surprisingly, a lot of people in Canada have guns. Like Canada, a lot of people hunt up here, so I mean, everyone grows up with guns. We used to hunt prairie chickens and deer and stuff like that when I grew up, and I grew up shooting stuff. I mean, we would shoot gophers when we were 10, 11, 12, 13, all the time on the farm. So you kind of grow up with it, but you don't grow up with the big handguns that you see on TV, right? So I did get to go a number of times shooting with them, and it was fun. You could buy like zombie targets and stuff, and you could buy zombie bullets, which is the craziest thing. But you could buy zombie bullets in the U.S. I thought that was fantastic. 5718. Okay, we'll get to keep this one going. I should actually get a hold of Dave. I haven't talked to him for a while. We'll see if the White Lions think they're winning every time. And like this time it doesn't look like it. Because they're just solidly losing health over time. Vin, you're in Switzerland. There's a lot of guns too. Like Switzerland, you probably, yeah, exactly. You know, it's surprising. It's something that's so sensationalized in the U.S. But I mean, like everyone in Canada grows up with guns. I mean, you just do. I mean, like it's not like, but it's so sensationalized. The U.S. media, one thing that U.S. media is great at, it's sensationalizing things. And like, yeah, Vin, you're in Switzerland, so I mean, I'm sure you guys do a lot of hunting up there. There's a lot of mountains and beautiful countryside. I'm sure you got deer and mountain goats, stuff you guys hunt for, and rabbits and pigeons, or not pigeons, chickens, prairie chickens, or well, I don't know if you got prairie chickens there, but birds, stuff like that. So you probably got a lot of shotguns, 22s, and I don't know if you guys do a lot of big game hunting in Switzerland, but maybe like 306s, 303s, stuff like that, or 22 250s, or something a little smaller like a goat. But everybody had guns up here. So I mean, but you hear about it a lot in the U.S., but no one has handguns here. Very few people have handguns in Canada. It's all rifles. 5737. All right, 2791. Okay, 660. Oh, really? So I didn't realize military service is obligatory in Switzerland. Interesting. So I know there's a few countries that are like that, like Switzerland. I didn't know. I know Israel. It's obligatory there. Oh, geez. Is it obligatory in? There's an Asian country that it's obligatory in. Something makes a huge difference in gun safety if you're handling non-hunting guns. Oh, it's obligatory for men only, Vin. Okay, Israel, I know it's obligatory for men and women. I know it's obligatory for both there. And I know there's a few countries that are like that, but it's not in Canada, obviously not in the U.S. To be honest, I wish the U.S. had that. Zach, now, so I actually kind of wish Canada had it too. Military service is not a bad thing because Singapore, there you go. Okay. It's not a bad thing for a young person because, I mean, when you get out of high school, you just don't have any discipline. And it's not a bad way to learn a little bit of discipline because Belgium, okay, Zach, Belgium. It's not a bad way to learn a little bit of discipline as you're just developing into an adult, because you get out of high school and you have no discipline, and you just don't. And military teaches you a lot of discipline, I think. And everyone I've talked to who's come from military background, they have at least a little bit of extra discipline in their lives, and it's a focus not so much on learning a thing as much as it is as learning to be a grown-up, so a lot of people say you learn that in university. Well, you don't learn how to be a grown-up in university. I mean, it's 4 more years of being a freaking kid. That's what that is. Everybody, like anyone who's been to university knows that. You don't grow up until you're out, you're paying bills and so I think military, you get to actually get a little bit of discipline before you actually enter the world as an adult, which might not be too bad. Dr. Nick, don't want to get into too much because my political beliefs are pretty extreme, but it's not that guns themselves or gun culture is bad in its own, but the amount of shootings. Yeah, Dr. Mass shooting in this country is staggering. Yeah, Zach, they really are. Like, it's crazy. I know, I have a lot of friends in the U.S., and I'm talking military friends, and they talk about it as being like it's such a harsh thing, and what's the right way to deal with that? And I think a lot of it comes down to, you look at the people that, they're not crazy, but you look, because I don't think that's the right way to say they're crazy, is a lot of people that tend to, like, I've been paying attention since Columbine to kind of mass shootings in the U.S., and a lot of people that are just go down that path are outcasts, or just end up being outcasts in society. They can never integrate, never find friends, or at least the right way, and they just never tend to get there. Now, that they do or don't have the tools to do what they do is one question. The way they get to the point where they're willing to pull the trigger like that is a different question. It's really rough. And it's a hard question. It really is a hard question, because I know from my experience, I lived in the U.S., I've lived in Costa Rica, traveled around the world, and been to many countries, and I'll say America is the light of the world. And having lived there and been around the world, and I know that to be true. But the U.S., just like every other country, has its great things and has its warts and its areas where you need improvement, and that is definitely one, right? 5737. Did I get this all done? And what is the right solution? That's just a hard one. It is a hard question to answer, because the way the U.S. Constitution is written, the reason the America is the light of the world is because of the nature of the Constitution. The people who founded the U.S. thought about governance in such a radically different way than the rest of the world had to that point, that they actually made the U.S. so that it couldn't be an oligarchy. It couldn't be just a straight up tyranny. And they made the three branches of government even. It's so crazy how the U.S. government is always fighting, but they set it up to be like that. They made it so it's hard to do anything with the government, and it's hard to pass any laws, and it's hard to make any big changes. And that's how it should be, to be perfectly honest. That's exactly how it should be. But you look at those important ideas, and individual liberties are held at such high esteem in the foundational documents of the U.S. That's what sets it apart and does make the U.S. the light of the world. And you look at sort of the gun argument and violence and everything. I get that 5736. I get that gun violence is awful, and I'm not saying anything about that. But you look at overall violence in the world and in the U.S. is going down. This world is getting to be a lot less of a violent place than it was 50 years ago, and especially 100 years ago, especially 1,000 years ago. 10,000 years ago, before there was a really civilization, being killed by another person with a blunt object was a fact of life. Could you imagine? Now they never even really think about something like that. But these things that are highly sensationalized, you got to keep your eye on them and figure out what to do. 5736. The world is becoming a more peaceful place, and is becoming a more peaceful place fast. It's a great book by who is it? It's called The Better Angels of Our Nature, which talks about the rate of violent deaths among human beings over the last 10,000 years or whatever, and how it's gone down so dramatically in the last 50 years. It's crazy. The world has become unbelievably peaceful in terms of how likely you are to die of a violent cause. People are living longer, and people are living more peacefully at a staggering rate. 2247. You lived in 1100 AD. You're probably not expecting to live to 80. And violence in your life is probably a normal thing. White Lions. 686. Whoops. 686. who wrote The Better Angels of Our Nature? Stefan? I'll think of the name. I have one of his other books, Blank Slate or something like that. 5736 End Battle. Rematch. See. Zach, all more people would actually care who went to war enough to get pissed off for the wrong reasons. Yep. Zach, I learned a lot of disciplines from sports and theater myself. Yep. It was sports for me, Zach. Zach, the combination of guns being very, very easy to get, and the fact that men who have been taught it a long time to repress their emotions, not share with anyone, you're right on the money, Zach. And eventually it boils over somehow if you don't have a good support network. That's exactly, people get isolated, and they if you don't have that support network and support network friends and somewhere to have an outlet, I mean, it's just bad. But the world is always getting better. Dr. Nick, it's also very hard to get anything that's good passed into laws too. Yep, especially when a constitutional amendment is needed. 13th Amendment almost never happened. Yep. Well, and it should be hard. It really should be. There's a good reason. I mean, the U.S. government is always trying to centralize power, but it'll never get all the way there because the Constitution keeps a lot of power in the states, and if things start to get too hairy, the states can exercise their power quite capably. Just always slow enough to annoy us. Yeah. Well, the U.S. political fight is always interesting. It was interesting in the 80s when I first remember it. It's the same now. And a lot of people are saying it's always getting worse. It's not. It's exactly the same. The jokes about Donald Trump in the 80s were the jokes about Ronald Reagan. I remember how many people were, Ronald Reagan is this, Ronald Reagan is that. And nothing has changed. And then it was when Bill Clinton came in, it was all the jokes about, nothing ever changes. Everyone feels like now is the most important time. It's not. It's the same as it was in 1985. It's 2018 and or 2019, and people feel like the politics are crazier than they've ever been. No, they're not. They're exactly the same. They are precisely the same. I remember it. I remember how everyone thought Ronald Reagan was a this or a that, and how politics were so this and that. Admittedly, the 80s were a lot more right-wing skewed, because all the politics of the day were, video games are bad, and they make people love the devil, and all that's the devil worship was the big thing, and rock music made people crazy, and it was a very right wing skew. Right now, it's a very left wing skew. It'll swing back to be a right wing skew in 20 years. It's coming, right? It's just it swings back and forth like a pendulum. Right now, it's a left wing skew, and 30 years, 20 years, it'll be a right wing skew again, and we'll be talking about how, rock music makes you worship the devil. We'll be all the way back there. 2050, we'll be all the way back to where we were in 1985. It's just how it goes. Politics is always the same all the time. And the funny thing is, if you really want to prove it to yourself, sometime go and read old papers. I'm talking papers, you can find papers from the 1920s and 1930s that talk about politics then. They talk about them exactly the same. There's no difference. How about this politician is an absolute idiot, he's wrecking our society, and da-da-da-da-da. It's always that way. It never ever changes. And everyone always thinks now is the most important moment of time, and everyone's going to wreck everything if they don't do what everyone else thinks. And that never ever changes. 5745. Grumbling Guard, 3136. And, I guess having lived long enough to experience it, it's a little easier for me to see it. I think someone who's maybe in their 20s might have a little harder time because they don't know any other culture and they haven't seen the big cultural swings. But yeah, right, politics are no different. I remember there were people there's no way Donald Trump will ever get elected. I'm like, why not? It's the same as always. People don't think it's possible or think it's crazy, and then because I remember when Reagan got elected. He's an actor and blah 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 and all this kind of stuff, but it was exactly the same. It was so much the same. I can't even tell the difference, with the exception of the surrounding politics were a lot more skewed to the right in the 80s. A lot more skewed to the right in the 80s. Because MTV was controversial in the 80s. which just seems crazy, but it was. Rematch. Dr. Nick, there's an amendment from the 70s that makes it unconstitutional to discriminate against women that is still waiting on ratification from some of the states. Really? Zach, that's not one of our finer moments. Yeah. Zach, climate change is a pretty big existential threat that's in the now. So, Zach, it is. It's a huge existential threat. And I know because I have pictures of me by a glacier when I was a kid, and that glacier is completely gone. Like, it is literally gone. The world's climate is changing. It's not changing as fast as the projections, interestingly enough, because the world is starting to get reforested and regreened, because it turns out plants really, really like CO2. And a lot of the world is greening, but I don't know. I think it's a big threat, but I also know how the world works, and I know how people work. As it becomes more and more important, people will become better and better at sorting things out and cooperating. You know, the idea, I remember in the early 90s, people started talking about sea levels going to be going up 6 feet in the next 30 years if we don't change our ways, and it's going to totally bury the coast. I mean, that hasn't happened. And it has gone to some of the projections, but the sea level hasn't risen. The sea bottom is sinking, which we know to be true. And, we know that humans are the cause of CO2 and the greenhouse effect. But we also, how far will it have to swing? Because there's normal change and stuff. Like, there's no doubt that the climate's changing, because I have facts, I have proof that I've experienced and lived through. And we know what the changes are. It's going to make more and more severe weather. As the oceans get hotter, you'll see more and more severe weather. But at the same time, human ingenuity, I think I have faith in humanity as a whole. I think ingenuity will rule the day, and people will cooperate a lot more. I was interesting, for some reason, and this is no knock on Americans, Zach and Dr. Nick, no knock on you guys, but you guys do tend to think you're the center of the universe sometimes. We talk about climate change, and everyone's like, "Oh, China's the worst." I was literally just in China 3 weeks ago. I was in Hong Kong, and they have made massive improvements on things that are helping pollution of the oceans. You cannot get a damn straw in the entire city of Hong Kong. It's a city of freaking 10 million people. You can't get a straw anywhere because they stopped using straws. They said, listen, we're not going to use straws, not going to use plastic straws of any kind, and they don't. And they worry about the environment too. So it's not just like it's one country or one person's responsibility. It's everyone's responsibility, and that will get more and more so over time, because it's not like the only place that does any pollution is here, there, and is pervasive worldwide. There's a lot of people that are thinking about pollution and the environment. It's not just us. Though we could do a better job, and that's for damn sure. 57:44. All right. So we got 27:72. 7:31. 123. So 104 gold they pulled, and they did it in 132 seconds. So very strong performance by the Grumbling Guard. So they pulled extra gold. They finished with 41% of their health. A very, very nice performance. What is that? So that seconds per gold doesn't matter because they didn't lose. So the next thing is the hammers. Should I test the hammers? I kind of want to test hammers. I'm going to test the hammers. How to read chat first. Dr. Nick, both Bush and Trump only won the Electoral College. Both lost a popular vote. Dr. Nick, that you can't have. There is no such thing as democracy on the earth, and you can't have it. Mob rule would be chaos. A republic is the best governance that humans have ever created. Vin, I think the most important thing in the world is to have a long beard, because when you have a long beard, you have it right. That's right, Vin. Fantasy forever. I used to live in Houston for about 4 years. I love Houston, man. God, Houston is a great place to live. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. It's like, it is just, I mean, I hope I'll probably, I don't know, I'm probably I want to buy a house in the U.S., but I don't. Because I like traveling. There's a lot of places in the U.S. I like traveling to, and I also like traveling to the Caribbean, and, I've been to Brazil recently, and a lot of places like that. But maybe in the next 10 years, I buy a house down in the U.S. in Texas. I love Texas because it is so cheap there. And it's just like great people, like unbelievable people from all walks of life. It is such an amazing place. Rematch. Whoops. Yeah, I met a lot of friends in Houston. And I was surprised. I was really worried because I grew up on a farm. I grew like the big town where I went to school had 600 people, and it was the biggest town for 30 miles because the next town over had 150 people. The town over to the other side to the west had 300 people. The town to the north had 150, and the town to the south had 400. So our town was huge, and it had 2 gas stations. It was a big deal, And so I'm not used to big cities. I was terrified of living in Houston. When I got there, it was amazing. And just how nice people were. And I mean, people from all walks of life. It was fantastic. Unbelievable. And if Fantasy Forever, having lived in Houston, it really is a melting pot. There are people from all over the damn world. You're talking everywhere in the world. You can hear 10 different languages in one day. And but it's a true melting pot. People just seem to get along, and everyone's hustling. Everyone's working hard. I'm sure, Houston has its moments, but it's a city of 8 million people. So it's gonna, but, like the fact that the whole entire freeway is also a floodway, so that if it floods, you got to get off the damn freeway. I mean, I found that out pretty quick the first year I lived there. Yeah, Houston is an amazing place. Texas is an amazing place. West Texas feels just like Saskatchewan, where I grew up. It feels just like it. Incredibly friendly, incredible place. But there's a lot of great places in the U.S. Actually, a lot of great places in the world. I mean, I've been a few places, to be honest, that I didn't enjoy very much. And I've developed my own judgment, of societies. And this is my judgment. If I'm in a society where people understand how to properly stand in line, I'm good. For some reason, you go to some countries and no one knows how to stand in line. I can't take it. I cannot handle it when people don't know how to stand in line. That's the entire way I judge a country. I'm sorry if you're in a country that where people don't know how to stand in line. My apologies. I don't like your country. That is my entire methodology for judging whether I like a country. Do people know how to stand in line properly? Oh, man. Oh, man. Yep. Because, boy, when you're in countries where people don't know how to stand in line, holy crap. That is a real downer all the time. 58-37. I mean, I've been to airports where people just rush the teller, and I'm like, guys, we're all getting on the same plane. That plane is going to land at precisely the same time, whether you get on now in 5 minutes or in half an hour. It is not going to matter. Yet I'll see people like do this crazy stuff like that. I'm like, oh man. Hammers arm mopping the floor. 33-36. Very nice performance there. 33, was it 66, right? Yeah. So is that more than half, or it's close? They have 69? Not quite. It would need 34.50 would be half, right? So 33-36. White Lions, 790. Yeah, pulled 121 gold. So it's positive. We'll see what the gold ratio is at the end compared to the Grumbling Guard. They're going to finish him off in a lot less time, though. I know Umaze has builds where he brings hammers, and he sort of... I can see why he brings them, because they clean up stuff so fast. Right? In battle. Rematch. Doctor and Cameras mopped the floor with White Lions. Doctor, I'm glad you had a good experience, made friends there. I did. Houston was amazing. But I mean, I've spent a lot of time in Oregon. It was great. Washington State. Minnesota, North Dakota. A lot of time. I lived in California for a little while and Nevada for a little while. Loved them both. I can't say there's any place in the U.S. I didn't love. Although I will say I loved Houston the most. But because there's just so many unique places. And I can't say there's not many places in the world I haven't really loved, to be honest. But there's been some places that, the food, I just can't do the food. Places that really have lots and, I don't know, I don't know, there's just some places that I can't handle the food. 5830. It's just really hard to get used to. 2915. And then there's some places where people just don't know how to stand in line. 659. And I don't know why. All you have to do is stand in line 2 or 3 times to understand how useful it is. It's really good. It's a good skill to have. Zach, Sue, did you see my Dowie kite game yet? Yeah, the one where he had all the Slayers? Yes, I have watched it. I've watched all the games you sent me. I haven't watched them thoroughly and yet to analyze them. I just went through them all because, I have so many games since I got back from my vacation. St. Paul and Duluth are beautiful cities. Yeah, they are. You're right. They're like a lot of the northern U.S. cities sort of are really nice. And the thing is, I spent a lot of time in Michigan and Detroit. So when you're in Detroit, Detroit's kind of properly fallen apart as a city. It's not great. Zach, I love spicy food. Oh my God, that's why I like Texas so much. Texas knows how to cook. If there's a place that knows how to cook food, it is freaking Texas. Oh my God. Yeah, Detroit is a properly crumbling city. But when you get out of Detroit, sort of going towards Jackson, is it Jackson City, and down that way, it is properly beautiful. It is really, really pretty. Unbelievably spectacular landscapes, some farming, and it is unbelievable. It sort of starts to sparse out once you get past Indiana towards Chicago, kind of that way. Then it starts to get less impressive. And less impressive, I mean, it becomes more like home here in Saskatchewan, just flat and fields. Like Missouri is pretty flat. It's a lot like Saskatchewan, pretty boring. 5830, did I get this one already? I did. Rematch. Yeah, good, I do too. Man, oh man. I love spicy food. That's the kind of food that I don't like, Zach. Is so I've had like a lot of places that have tons of cheeses and like salted cabbages and a lot of soups and stuff like that. I'm not the biggest fan, and I'm gonna say I'll say, like, in general, I'm not the biggest fan of, say, Russian cuisine. Now I like pierogies and Ukrainian cuisine, pierogi stuff like that, but I will say kind of that Russian cuisine, which is not my favorite. I'm not saying it's bad. I'm just saying it doesn't agree with me. And I've been to sort of Azerbaijan. Like, I was in Baku for a while. And Baku is an unbelievable city. Like, in Baku, they got these 2 big buildings. The whole buildings light up at night, and they look like flames. It is unbelievable. It looks like you have 2 massive flames in the center of the city all night, every night. It is so spectacularly beautiful. And in Baku, they have this old castle right in the middle of the city. That is like, for me being from Canada, I was just, my jaw was dropped the whole time I was in Baku, and I was there for quite a while. But that the food, that Russian influence for the food, like when I ate more of the sort of the Persian food, I did a lot better. But on the Russian food, I couldn't take it. It was really hard on my stomach. 5837. Which is weird, because I like, well, not weird. I like some Russian foods, but I know, like, the Canadian ones you get are like pierogies. Man, I could eat pierogies all day, every day. 5837, 3570. Okay, White Lions finished with 945. Okay, 131. All right, so we're gonna end that battle, or rematch. A lot of people, men, can't handle it. Need all their food bland, and it's so depressing. Yeah, bland food. That's what gets me, is bland food, Zach. I'm like totally on top of bland food. It just, I also am not the biggest fan of English food. Sorry if there's people here from England, or people who ever listen to this from England. I don't. I really tried to make fish and chips work when I was in England, but I just couldn't. It's just the food is just a little bland. But that's like where you're saying, Zach. It's just doesn't got a lot of kick, And sort of going to the Chippies and just having like a bitter and fish and chips. It was about the best you could get there. And it just, it didn't disagree with my stomach. None of the food in England really disagreed with my stomach. It was just very, I don't know, unrememberable or forgettable, we'll call it. maybe. I did not remember the things I remembered fondly in England were the amazing landscapes, the driving, the incredible bars. I was young when I went there, stuff like that. Food was not one of the highlights. We'll leave it at that. 5833. $30.47. White Lions 820. Okay. A rematch. Man, yeah, England's a cool place. Like, unbelievable. I never really, like, living in Canada, and Zach, you'll know, Minnesota's a lot more populous than Canada, but it's open spaces for the most part. Go over to England, like, all the roads are so narrow. There's nowhere to park, and the cars are so small, and there's not a straight road in sight. A little bit weird getting used to it. The buildings, the architecture is amazing. The people are awesome. Unbelievable place. 5842. And both Games Workshop and CA, I think they're headquartered in England, are they not? So that's a pretty good reason to like England. 5842. 3534. All right. 910. 130. Rematch. All right, boys. Let's get it done. They're not killing them quite as they're not doing quite as good as I had hoped in terms of the total gold they're pulling off of this fight. Because it looks like they're going to only pull 100 gold off, which is not bad. I mean, they're not just beating the White Lions; they're beating them and gaining value in the interaction. So it's not awful, right? But so 58.42. So it's not quite as good as I'd hoped. 58.42. Oh, are we going to get a copy? Nope. 37.29. And 908. Every once in a while, I think maybe in the thousands of tests I've done, I've had tests repeat with exactly the same numbers. The end time and the health for both units, I think 3 or 4 times now. It's very rare that it occurs, but I'm actually quite proud of that because that says the testing I'm doing is pretty repeatable. Doesn't mean the testing I'm doing is correct. It just means it's repeatable. So that's what I do really like it when that happens. Hasn't happened for a while though. Rematch. Hammers are pulling positive value. Yes, Zach, they are definitely. So I mean that's pretty good, right? And Yume's and the thing is Yume's dwarf guide's amazing, and he has hammers he has 2 hammers in his high elf build. Now, I mean, I had a build with hammers in it a long time ago that was actually decent. I don't know if I mean, sorry, it worked out decently. I don't know if it was a good build. It's it's one of those things like. You can have a not so good build, but just win with it, right? It doesn't mean winning doesn't mean your build's good, right? Maybe you just got lucky, the terrain, the player, the day. So, I mean, I did have a build though with hammers that I had success with, though I'm not saying it's because of the build. It's just that it worked out. 31. So, what's the total value of the hammers here? 33.12. 33.12. And White Lions, we're going to say 894. 894. They pulled 110 gold, so that's solid. The thing here is they pulled that gold in 74 seconds. So the Grumbling Guard pulled 104 gold, about the same, but it took them almost twice as long, 132 seconds. So here's the value of the Hammerers. Getting that job done in 74 seconds. I mean, they pulled a lot of DPS, an average of 62.7 damage per second. Really, really high. Versus the Grumbling Guard's 36.2. But the Grumbling Guard pulled the same value. And the Grumbling Guard have charge defense against large, immunity, psychology, and courage, and a vigor aura. So there's other things the Grumbling Guard have here. So, I guess we'll have to see. I guess really... this is why the valuation can't really be complete until I get all the chevrons sorted out and the test versus the Swordmasters of Hoeth. But these hammers pulling good value against the White Lions of Trace, definitely. Dr. Nick, problem is a single chariot charge can deal so much damage to hammer. Yes, Dr. Nick, you're right on the money. That is the problem. Whereas his hammers have 160 mass, and a Grumbling Guard have 100 or have 200. So Grumbling Guard are going to hold up to a charge even if they don't get their charge defense in. They're going to hold up to that charge better because they have more mass, and it's just going to be harder for them, the chariots, to go through. And they have charge defense against large if they get a chance to use it. So it's one of those things. And you'll see a good high elf player will target. He'll target first your troll hammer torpedoes, and then he'll go after your hammers, right? So is what it is. The games I've seen hammers used in with Yumeis, he keeps them right in the back, right in the very back, and he only pulls them to that front line when he needs to, and he sort of delays them, which is I think a pretty sound tactic. But he uses them to good effect, and that they're really good against White Lions, and the thing hammers are also very good at is mopping up half health Swordmasters of Hoeth as well. Zach, if only he didn't have these great archers, he could take a Giant Slayer front line and kill the high elf chariots, the White Lion. So Zach, interesting. Rorquaboss doesn't have hammers in his backline, his build. He has Giant Slayers. So But Giant Slayers are really susceptible to those freaking archers because archers have 180 range. So I had Giant Slayers, one group of Giant Slayers in my build, and I've just switched them to Dragonback Slayers. So Dragonback Slayers have 20% physical resist, and they have that 25% missile resist. So I think they might be the right unit to have back there. Although the nice part about Giant Slayers is they crush. If they get their hands on chariots, they absolutely demolish them. Yeah. So I don't know. I think if you don't bring Slayers at all, which my build I had a while ago, I didn't bring any Slayers. It denies that unit, but it's a unit worth 475 gold. Then is denying that unit really have that much value to it? I don't know. But if they get onto Giant Slayers, they just crush them. So that's sort of a question to be answered. So I would play my Giant Slayers way back, and because you can play your Giant Slayers quite a ways back, and you can hold them back for a little while, but eventually they're going to have to get into that fight, and then they're going to be super vulnerable. So if you don't even have any Slayers and you have Hammerers back there, you trade one thing for the other. You trade being able to crush on the infantry side for being weaker to the chariots and potentially cavalry, right? So I don't know what's better. I mean, that's where you have to sit and where we have these great conversations on Discord, on the that tournament Discord from Shetland Apache, where you go over the theory crafting and the builds. Like, there's always so many great conversations over there. Like, do you like this? Do you like this? No, I like this because of that, etc., etc. And then you get to see games as they go. Zach, I want to try 5 Trollhammer build versus AT. So I have a 4 Trollhammer torpedo build, Zach. So I don't know if it's still there, but I was gonna enter that tournament. No, I had built a 4 Trollhammer torpedo build for this tournament here that I'm playing in with in Shadow Online Gaming. So I was gonna use a 4 Trollhammer torpedo build against the Greenskins, and then I tested it a few times, and it was really, really good. Like, it actually demolished the Greenskins. It was unbelievable until I tested it against the what are the artillery, not the rock lobber, but the Doom Diver catapults. Then when you bring that build and someone brings like 3 Doom Divers, those Trollhammer torpedoes aren't so good anymore. But it was really funny. It was hilarious with 4 because they kill everything in one shot. So if you can make a 5 Trollhammer torpedo build work, man, you'll be my hero. Dr. Nick, okay, I have to head out for now. Glad I stopped in and say, hey, yeah, nice meeting you guys and chatting. Yeah, thanks, Gobbo Slayer. I'll watch the video later. Yep. Doctor, you have a good night. I'm going to end the stream right now, Dr. Nick, so you have a good one. And send me some replays, man. Send me some replays in Discord. I want to see some. So I'll see you, Zach, and if Oric Boss is still here, see you. I hope you guys have a good day, night, or whatever part of the world you're in. And, I will continue this testing until I get it all done and we get some better information on the infantry engagement between the High Elves and the Dwarfs. So that said, I hope you guys all have a good one. Ciao.